Luna had always dreamed of a love that would sweep her off her feet. From her small apartment overlooking the bustling city, she often watched the sunset and wondered when her moment would come. Her life was simple, filled with close friends, laughter, and the gentle routine of her job at the local bookstore. One rainy afternoon, as Luna was arranging a shelf of poetry books, a young man walked in. He had kind eyes, a charming smile, and an unhurried way of speaking that made time seem to slow down. His name was Ethan. He asked for a recommendation, and Luna handed him her favorite collection of love poems. Their hands briefly touched, and something electric passed between them. Days turned into weeks, and Luna and Ethan's encounters became the highlight of her days. They explored bookstores, shared coffee at hidden cafes, and wandered through moonlit parks. Their laughter echoed in the air, and Luna felt her heart opening in ways it never had before. One evening, under a sky dusted with stars, Ethan confessed, "I've never met anyone like you, Luna." She felt her cheeks warm as she smiled, hope shining in her eyes. The world seemed full of possibilities. For the first time in a long while, Luna believed in magic. Everything felt perfect. And as she drifted off to sleep that night, Luna had no idea that her fairy tale was only just beginning. The following months became a season of happiness that Luna would later remember with bittersweet clarity. Every morning, Luna awoke with anticipation, counting the hours until she would see Ethan again. Their routines intertwined: lunchtime gatherings at the botanical garden, long walks along the riverside, and spontaneous weekend trips to nearby villages. With Ethan, even mundane days felt magical. Ethan seemed to understand Luna in a way no one ever had. He remembered her favorite pastries, always brought her little notes tucked between the pages of new books, and listened carefully when she shared her hopes and fears. Luna adored his gentle humor and his passion for painting. She often visited his small studio, watching in awe as he brought blank canvases to life. Their conversations wandered from silly to profound, and each glance, each touch, felt heavy with meaning. Luna's friends noticed how she glowed. They teased her at dinner parties, joking about wedding bells and fairy tales. For the first time, Luna could see such a future. The world around her felt vibrant, flowers seemed brighter, music sounded sweeter. One afternoon, as she and Ethan danced barefoot in the rain, Luna realized she was falling in love. Ethan's family welcomed Luna warmly. They spent Sundays eating home-cooked meals at his mother's big wooden table, laughter mixing with the scent of fresh bread. Ethan whispered, "You're a part of me now, Luna," as he held her hand under the table. Luna wondered how she had ever lived without him. Summer drew near, and with it came talk of forever. One golden evening, Ethan knelt beneath the old oak tree where they had shared their first kiss. With trembling hands and shining eyes, he asked Luna to marry him. Tears streaming down her cheeks, Luna whispered, "Yes." Their friends celebrated. Luna's parents cried with joy. The engagement was a dazzling promise, a future full of hope. Yet, amid all the happiness, Luna occasionally sensed a flicker of something she couldn't name. A shadow in Ethan's eyes, a hint of secrecy behind his smile. She brushed it off as nerves or the strain of wedding planning. After all, how could anything go wrong when love felt so right? As they prepared for the wedding, Luna dreamed of a life filled with laughter, art, and unwavering devotion. She had no idea that a storm was slowly gathering on the horizon, its presence hidden behind beautiful, blinding sunlight. As spring melted into summer, wedding preparations claimed Luna's every thought. Her days became a whirlwind of dress fittings, cake tastings, invitation designs, and family gatherings. Each moment in her calendar was crowded with lists and appointments, and yet, Luna felt happier than ever. Planning a future with Ethan gave her joy that colored even the most tiring days. Their shared nights were quieter, full of small pleasures, late talks over steaming tea, Ethan sketching Luna as she read, or the soft sound of him rehearsing vows under his breath. But sometimes, when Luna looked over her shoulder, Ethan's eyes would be distant, his attention somewhere far away. She'd call his name, and he'd smile, but the look never quite disappeared. Luna, ever trusting, assumed it was stress. Marriage was, after all, a huge step. One evening, Luna and Ethan sat on their favorite rooftop, the city spread out below them, lights glittering in the warm night air. Ethan was silent, staring at a spot on the horizon, his fingers drumming nervously on his glass. Luna leaned her head on his shoulder. "Tell me what's on your mind," she whispered. Ethan hesitated, his jaw tense. At last, he turned to her and said, "Sometimes I wonder if I deserve all this happiness. You, us, everything." He squeezed her hand, his eyes glimmering with something like sadness. "Promise me you'll always remember this, Luna. No matter what happens, remember I love you." Luna laughed softly, trying to dispel the heaviness. "You're thinking too much. We're just tired. Tomorrow will be bright again." Still, his words lingered in her heart. Soon, Luna's old friends from university came to visit, eager to meet the man who had captured her heart. She watched as Ethan charmed them, telling stories and making everyone laugh. Yet, during the evening, Luna caught Ethan glancing at his phone more than usual. Once, she saw a message pop up, just a name, Clara. Before she could ask, Ethan tucked the phone away, returning to the conversation, leaving Luna with a faint sense of confusion. The next week passed in a blur. Luna was busy finalizing seating arrangements and dress fittings with her mother. Ethan spent more time at his studio, saying he needed inspiration, that he wanted to finish a painting as a wedding gift for her. Some nights, Luna would call and he wouldn't answer, texting back hours later with vague apologies about being lost in his art. One evening, Luna visited Ethan unannounced, hoping to surprise him with his favorite pastries. She arrived at the studio just as someone slipped out the side door, a woman with dark hair who moved quickly, her face hidden by shadows. Ethan was inside, pale and startled. "You're here early," he stammered, wiping his hands. "I was just cleaning up." His voice was tight, his smile uncertain. Luna looked at the easel, expecting to see their portrait, but instead she saw a painting of a woman standing beneath stormy skies, her face turned away. "It's beautiful," Luna managed, forcing a smile. Ethan closed the canvas quickly, almost guiltily. At home that night, Luna tried to shake off her unease. She cuddled into her pillow, watching the city lights pulse through her window. Surely, she told herself, Ethan was only overwhelmed. But her dreams were restless, full of unanswered questions and distant laughter that faded as she reached out. Despite her doubts, Luna pressed on. The big day was approaching and every detail had to be perfect. They tasted the wedding menu, posed for last-minute engagement photos, and sent out heartfelt letters to loved ones. Still, in the quiet moments, Luna sometimes felt a cold wind blowing through her happiness, a whisper of something unspoken. She clung to hope, believing in love, and prayed the clouds would clear by the time she walked down the aisle. What Luna couldn't know was that secrets seldom stayed hidden forever, and the truth was already weaving its way into her beautiful story, silent, sly, and unstoppable. The excitement that once filled Luna's heart had softened into a nervous flutter. With the wedding just 2 weeks away, the world seemed to move faster, yet Luna felt she was drifting further from Ethan. She threw herself into preparations, hosting bridal showers with friends and shopping for last-minute decorations, but Ethan grew more distant with each passing day. At night, Luna lay awake replaying every conversation, searching for hidden meanings in Ethan's words and actions. She noticed now how he avoided her gaze when she asked about his day, how his laughter seemed forced, how his reassurances sounded practiced. The mysterious messages continued, always from Clara. Luna yearned to ask him about it directly, but was paralyzed by an irrational fear. She didn't want to shatter the image of happiness she had worked so hard to build. 2 days before her final wedding dress fitting, Luna met her friend, Melissa, at a busy cafe. Over coffee, Melissa asked, "Are you okay, Luna? You seem a little lost lately." Luna hesitated and then, for the first time, voiced her doubts, whispering, "I think Ethan is hiding something from me." Melissa squeezed her hand and promised to help however she could. The next afternoon, Luna's fears sharpened. While searching for a misplaced bridal hairpin in Ethan's studio, she found a small box tucked behind some paint jars. Steeling herself, she pulled it free and opened it. Inside were letters, envelopes bearing Ethan's handwriting, each addressed to Clara. Some were unopened, others torn open and read. Luna's hands trembled as she scanned a few lines. The words were loving, intimate, too intimate, she realized with despair. Her breath caught in her throat as tears filled her eyes, and the world seemed to tilt around her. When Ethan entered the studio minutes later, he found Luna pale and silent, the box in her lap. The air felt heavier, full of things unsaid. There was a long, shattering silence. Ethan reached for her hand, but Luna pulled away, her voice breaking. "Who is Clara?" Ethan's face crumpled with regret. For a moment, he seemed unable to speak. When he finally found his voice, his confession was quiet, almost broken. He told Luna that Clara was someone from his past, a relationship that had never quite ended, and one he couldn't let go of, even after meeting Luna. His words spilled out in fragments, regretful, remorseful, but clear. He didn't hide the truth anymore. Luna listened in stunned silence, tears streaming down her cheeks. The person she thought she knew so well crumbled before her eyes. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered, pain radiating from every word. Ethan tried to explain, admitting that he'd been afraid of hurting her, afraid of being left alone, afraid of not knowing who he really loved. Luna barely heard him. Her trust, carefully built over months, collapsed within minutes. She left the studio in a daze, stumbling out into the cold night air. That evening, as rain hammered the narrow streets, Luna wandered for hours, lost in memories, regrets, and unanswered questions. Her heart ached, the world around her faded to grey. By morning, she returned home and locked herself in her room, her phone unanswered and her wedding plans scattered around her like abandoned dreams. Friends called. Her mother knocked softly at her door. But Luna felt worlds away. The wedding was just days away, but for Luna, everything suddenly hung in uncertainty. The love story she believed was hers was unraveling, thread by painful thread. Yet, somehow, beneath the numbness and sorrow, there lingered a sense that the truth still wasn't whole, a whisper that not all secrets had come to light, and that the biggest test of her heart was still to come. The days before the wedding unfolded like a slow nightmare. Luna's home, once lively with wedding dreams, now felt like a tomb of silent, broken hopes. Her dress hung untouched in her closet, ribbons bleaching in the sun. Friends and family tiptoed around her, not daring to mention Ethan's name or the ceremony that still appeared on their calendars. Melissa stayed by Luna's side, bringing her tea and gentle words, trying to pierce the shell of grief that had overtaken her. But Luna barely ate, barely spoke. Instead, she reread Ethan's letters to Clara, over and over, searching for something, anything that might make sense of her heartache. Each word was a fresh wound. Ethan left messages every day, apologizing and begging for forgiveness. He confessed everything now, how his old feelings for Clara had lingered even after he'd met Luna, how he had tried to let go but couldn't, how he had wanted to be honest but had always felt trapped. "I love you, Luna. I always have," he said in his voicemails, his voice tight with tears. But Luna could no longer believe him. Trust, once shattered, is rarely restored. The world outside moved on. Guests began to arrive for the wedding, unaware of the storm within. Luna's mother tried to comfort her daughter, suggesting Luna could postpone or cancel, but Luna only shook her head. There was a stubbornness in her grief, a sense that walking away so close to the end would make her heartbreak complete. She needed answers. She needed closure. On the final morning before the wedding, Luna made a decision. She walked to Ethan's studio, hoping to find him alone, determined to hear everything face to face. She found him staring at the unfinished painting, the stormy canvas that now seemed a mirror of their lives. Ethan looked older, thinner, shadows heavy beneath his eyes. "Clara called me," Luna began, her voice quiet but clear. "She didn't tell me anything I didn't already know. But she said you're afraid, Ethan. Afraid to lose something you never really had." Ethan stared at her. Tears glimmered in his eyes. "I thought I could forget her," he said. "But meeting you changed me. I love you, Luna. I do. But a part of me was always running. I wasn't ready to say goodbye to my past." "You should have told me the truth from the start," Luna replied. Her voice wavered but her eyes were steady. You never let me choose for myself. You let me build a life on a lie." Ethan wept as Luna stood in front of him, her own pain etched in every line of her face. But something within her had shifted. She would not let herself shatter completely. She would not let betrayal define her future. Walking away from the studio, Luna felt numb but lighter, relief and devastation tangled together. She spent the final evening before her wedding alone on her rooftop, staring at the stars. Lone music from a party floated through the warm night air, reminding her of what she'd lost and what she might find within herself. The wedding day dawned bright and cruelly beautiful. Luna woke before sunrise, packing away her dress and all the objects she had gathered for the life she'd imagined. Guests filled the small church, awaiting a ceremony that would never come. With trembling hands, Luna wrote a letter to Ethan. "This is goodbye. I wanted love, honesty, and hope. I still believe in them. Just not with you." She left the note at his door, then slipped away as the city woke. The bells that rang that afternoon were not for Luna and Ethan, but for a beginning of a different kind, a beginning Luna would have to find on her own, at her own pace, somewhere beyond the reach of lies. Yet, amidst the heartbreak, Luna realized she had grown braver than she'd ever thought possible. Her tears dried, her spirit steady, she promised herself to keep searching for truth, wherever it would lead her next. The following weeks passed in a haze for Luna, as if the world were gently urging her to rest and heal. The city's rhythms continued. Trams rattled through the morning, rain swept the rooftops, and life crept back into her days inch by inch. The invitations on her table gathered dust. Her wedding dress was packed away in a box, unsent, unworn, unspoiled by memories she refused to let define her. In the beginning, Luna could not bear to speak of what happened. When friends reached out, she responded with simple messages, grateful for their love but not yet ready to share her pain. The people around her respected her silence, letting their support fill the spaces words couldn't reach. Her mother visited each day, never pressing, just being present, her steadfast love a quiet anchor. Nights were the hardest. Luna lay awake in her bed, haunted by echoes of Ethan's voice, the warmth that had so quickly turned to coldness, the memory of laughter that now stung like the sharp edge of glass. She would turn the letters in her hands, sometimes reading, sometimes sobbing, sometimes simply staring at her reflection in the window, trying to answer the questions that spun endlessly in her mind. But time, relentless and gentle, began its silent, patient work. Little by little, sorrow softened. Luna found herself returning to the bookstore, where the familiar scent of pages and binding offered comfort. Friends dropped by, sometimes pulling her from behind the counter for a walk, a movie, or just a cup of tea. Their company was healing, laughter returning in hesitant trickles, and then, one day, in unexpected floods. One afternoon, while dusting a high shelf, Luna came across an old journal she had once hidden behind the classics. In it, she had written about her dreams, hopes for adventure, for purpose, for love that was honest and whole. Reading her own handwriting, Luna felt tears gather, but this time she didn't cry for what she had lost. She cried for the strength that had carried her through. In that same spirit, Luna decided to reclaim her story. She wrote her pain out on paper, not just the heartbreak, but also the beauty she had experienced, the laughter, the lessons. Words became her therapy. Soon, she found herself helping a shy teenager in the bookstore write her first poem. She started organizing little literary gatherings on weekends. Gradually, Luna's heart opened again to unexpected joys. Ethan reached out only once more, a letter delivered quietly to the store. In it, he apologized with a depth Luna recognized but could not accept back. She read it once, then put it away with the others. There was nothing left to say. As summer faded into autumn, Luna noticed herself in the mirror one morning. Brighter-eyed, relaxed, a little older, a lot wiser. The city felt new again, its promises no longer terrifying. She spent more afternoons in the garden with Melissa, or sharing books with lonely customers, building something honest out of her brokenness. On the anniversary of her intended wedding, Luna visited the old oak tree, the place where her love and dreams had once bloomed. She brought nothing but herself. Leaning against the tree's rough trunk, she closed her eyes and listened to the wind. There was sadness there, yes, but also peace. Luna whispered, not to Ethan, but to her own heart, I forgive you. I forgive myself. I am whole. She picked up her bag and walked home, the world wide open, her story still unfolding, one she would write, this time, on her own terms.